welcome. This is going to be the webinar for Booosts and the Boost Marketplace on beehiiv. If you don't know me, my name's Darwin. I was previously customer support. You may or may not have seen me address your tickets if you're a long-time customer. I now work on the product team full-time, and Boost is one of the products that I work on within the greater app. This is beginner-friendly. You can ask any question you want at any time. Our agenda for the day is we're going to cover, firstly, how Boosts work. We're going to cover getting set up. Many of you said this is your first time using it. Amazing. We're going to make sure everyone's up to speed from the start. We're going to cover if you're spending money to grow. We're going to cover if you're here to earn money. And then lastly, we're going to go over best practices on each side. That stuff is a little bit more subjective, but it's things that I've seen work for customers, beehiiv customers, I mean, as well as things that I've seen a lot of the folks on the beehiiv team do. So first things first, we always try to include one kind of a success story to remind us why we're here. The Geek Out newsletter is one example. There's an article online. I will link it in the chat, actually, so that you guys can reference it if you want to anytime. Basically, this guy has made $18,000 in the last 6 months. That is US dollars, and it's 25,000 lifetime. On the flip side of that, people have acquired around 3, 4, 5,000 subscribers, just like the ones from Matt directly. In other words, it's working. Some people have seen great success, but not everyone quite yet, which is why we do these webinars, and we want to make sure everyone is capitalizing. The advantage to Boost, as you will see, is that it's majority hands-off. More on that later, meaning it's passive. So how does it work? So Boost is a two-sided marketplace. You have the growth side, people who are spending money to grow by acquiring active, engaged subscribers. On the other side, you have the monetize side, which is people who are driving subscribers to other publications via the tools provided. Every subscriber goes through a verification process, and this is the first thing we have to clarify because we get a lot of questions about why didn't I get paid? Why did my subscriber not go through? How come all my money goes into pending and then kind of sits there for a minute? Verification is an important part of Boost. It's the most frequently asked part of Boost, so we're going to make sure to cover that in detail. Now, what does it actually look like? Example newsletter, we have one called Big Desk Energy. This is the newsletter written by Tyler Denk, who is the co-founder, who's one of the co-founders and CEO of beehiiv. Let's say I'm someone who's never heard of this and I want to subscribe. And if you guys are going here and subscribing now, you're about to see the exact same thing I'll show you. You can do it here. I subscribe here. Please don't email me. And then I see this modal. This modal has these cards on it. And you can see here that this one says sponsored. This is the Boost itself. Now, because I subscribe to Big Desk Energy, if I toggle this on and I click the subscribe button here, led by a community will then, if I pass verification, which I just mentioned, pay Big Desk Energy for me as an active engaged subscriber. Why? Because I came through Big Desk Energy, and through that publication, I subscribed to Led by Community, which is why Led by Community says, oh, thank you, Big Desk Energy, for Darwin, my new subscriber. Here's $2 or $3 or whatever it is. That's the gist of how it works. It's very straightforward. Rob, yes, that is a web boost. Do you pay to be featured here? You pay for the subscription, and we're going to get into exactly how the offer works and how you end up on this page, Anderson. That's a good question. Moving swiftly on, good question. We are going to start with growing with Boost because that's kind of like by understanding the way the money works and is added and moves, we can then get into monetizing a lot easier. So we're going to start with growing. We're going to cover creating your offer first. So this is the example publication we will use, creating your offer. So in order to access Boost, we're going to go here under grow, and we're going to go straight to the Boosts button here. This is our Boost dashboard, and I'm going to cover all of this in detail. For those of you who are newer, if you're following along in app, you can see that none of this is here for you, and it's just one button that says new offer or create offer. I don't remember exact copy. You're going to create that and create your offer. For this example, I'm going to edit the offer, and it's going to be the exact same screen, and everyone's going to see it in the exact same way. So we're creating a new offer. In my case, I'm editing. Now, what do we do? First thing we do is we decide how much do we want to pay. So earlier we had a question about if you have to pay to be featured on those recommendation modals. You don't necessarily pay for it up front, but you tell the publication how much you're willing to pay for them for each subscriber. They will then apply to promote you, or you will then say, hey, I would like you to promote me. You'll invite them, and I'll show you how that works. But before the partnership is made, you got to determine how much you're willing to pay. So Brian, your question is, how do you determine what an email address is worth? The publication that is willing to spend the money will determine how much they want to pay. So maybe they want to pay $2. Maybe they want to pay $3. Maybe they want to pay $5. It's up to them. Here, you can set how much you're willing to pay for an active, engaged subscriber through the Boosts marketplace in your specific offer. So that's going to be CPA, cost per acquisition, what you're willing to pay, what it will cost you. So beehiiv doesn't determine what it's worth. The publications paying for them determine what they pay. Target audience, this is what will appear in front of other publications who decide if they want to apply to work with you or not, or if they want to accept your invitation to promote you. And I'll cover invitations. You can write business people. Here they've written creators and people building tools and resources for creators, people invested in the creator economy. That's who Creator Spotlight wants on their newsletter. So for yourself, if you publish a newsletter on crochet, which I love and is a wonderful topic, maybe not as relevant. So maybe your readers may not care to read Creator Spotlight. And if you remember what happened here, if I'm reading Big Desk Energy, I don't know if I would necessarily care for a crochet newsletter. Big Desk Energy is all about beehiiv and building a business. Would someone who reads that also want to read about crochet? Sometimes, I know I would, but not always. And so you want to try and find overlap in a way that makes sense to say, would someone who reads my newsletter also want to read that newsletter? Because if they would, chances are they'll turn that button on and convert and I'll get paid. Plus, they'll actually enjoy what they're reading. I glanced over that a little bit, but basically, you want to ask yourself, do the people who read my newsletter, are they going to care about this target audience? Are they in this target audience? If they are, it's a good fit, you keep going. Now, if you're spending money, you want to ask yourself, do I want to make this super narrow? Some people say CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Not very many of them. I know my newsletter doesn't have any of them. Maybe it's going to scare me away from wanting to work with them because it's not who they want. Or you make it very general and just say business people. Well, then you're going to get all kinds of people applying to work with you. May not be as focused or as niche. So a little bit of time and attention to saying who your target audience is can go a long way in finding good partners in Booosts. Adam, great question. I'm going to get to that. Adam's question was about what it means for per send versus per subscriber. For that to make sense, I got to finish making this offer, but I'll show you in a moment. It's a good question. So we've set our cost per acquisition. We've set our target audience. Now we have quality controls. Essentially, when someone subscribes through one of these modals and there's money, when I subscribe here, this is really subject to abuse. It's a big topic. We're going to get into it. Don't you worry. Bryce, I got your question too. Bryce's question is about what happens if you're paying for subscribers and they're not opening emails. Essentially, that's the short version. This is subject to abuse because you're going to get all your friends, hey, can you guys just go sign up for this thing, turn this on and click subscribe so I can get money? That is disingenuous. You don't want to be in a situation where that's happening. That's like a very, very casual version of it. And then there are some more elaborate ones that are much more essentially fraudulent, straight up fraudulent. So the verification process here is the process that every subscriber will go through to determine if they're real, if they're active, if they're engaged, if they're otherwise legitimate. The standard verification method takes 10 to 17 days, as you can see here, and there are numerous checks which confirm all kinds of factors. Now, we do not specify exactly what the checks are and exactly how they operate. I can tell you for one, everyone who subscribes through Boost is going to have to do a double opt-in, like a confirmation. They're going to have to confirm their subscription as part of the process. But as far as beyond that, even if you've turned it off in your account, if it's through Boosts, they still have to do that double opt-in. They will have to double opt-in, for example. Now, beyond that, there are some other checks and things that we look at that we don't specify because people will take that information and use it to abuse the system. So standard verification is the one we always recommend because it's a greater level of security, or I guess there are more checks involved. Takes a little longer, but on the flip side, in most cases, quality of the subscriber is higher, which is what we're doing here. Relaxed. It can be done in as early as 48 hours. It can still take up to 17 days, though. Don't get the wrong idea. Not everything finishes in 2 days. But what essentially happens here is if I would go back to our Boost dashboard, we can see here that we are paying $3 per subscriber. I'll zoom in a touch. But we also have money in pending spend. So as a little bit of a preview of the dashboard, when I subscribe to Led by Community through this button and I click subscribe, Led by Community takes $2, we'll use $2 for the example, and sets it aside in pending because they have to first confirm if I'm legit as the subscriber. If I am, the $2 goes to Tyler or goes to Big Desk Energy. And if I'm not, the $2 goes back into the available balance. The standard verification method is the one we recommend to make sure that we have as many active, legitimate people go through as possible. Is it also possible that some people who are less active get through? It could be, but we always look at it on average. You can see here the average open rate across all the people who are verified is 35%. That means that half are higher and half are lower. So it will vary to a certain degree. When we get back into here and we look at quality controls, I personally always recommend standard. So Bryce, when you ask me how does it work, we unfortunately don't get into the exact details of what we check. What I can tell you is if you feel like you are paying for subscribers and they are not legitimate, absolutely contact beehiiv support. They can conduct an investigation to figure out if there is something actually wrong with the subscribers. Are they not legitimate? Were they possibly bots? Or did they just not like the newsletter after they started reading it? We can figure all those things out for you through beehiiv support as well. If you feel like you're not getting an answer just by looking at the screen yourself, we'll definitely help you with that. Now, as many of you have guessed, not every email address that subscribes actually passes verification. Many of them fail or are otherwise, we call it rejected. This will actually take those rejected subscribers and remove them from your list so that you don't have them essentially look really clunky and messy in your account. There are other benefits to it too, but generally just keeps it clean. If any questions, absolutely drop them anytime. The last part about quality controls we're going to get into is geolocation. Let's say, for example, for me, let's say I'm not in America. Let's say I'm in Canada or like Mexico or something. And I write a newsletter very specific to the region I live in. This geolocation criteria allows you to set it so that you only pay for subscribers in that particular region. So if, let's say, Canada is the one, I'll say, oh, I will set it so that only subscribers in Canada are paid for. Like only those go through. This helps maintain quality if you're focused on a particular region. Some people love it, and some people just leave it empty. It's completely up to you. You can select more than one region. So here, that's a good question, Howard. So we have Canada, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to go United States. And you can actually go other countries as well. You can go Albania if you want. You can add more than one. Obviously, because it's a region and a person can only be in one, they just have to meet one of the three in this example. So if you run a local newsletter, that can be very helpful for you. Now, Adam's question earlier was about what does it mean if you're paying someone per send versus per subscriber? Introducing email boosts. Now, I'm going to cover email boosts in greater detail later, but for the purpose of creating an offer, you have the option of enabling email boosts or not at this point in time. Meaning you say, hey, do you want people to also put this block in an email later? You can turn that on, you can turn that off if you're open to it. Sometimes it's nice to do that because newsletters that are bigger, they want to put it in their emails because they're going to get lots of clicks that way and they're going to convert more subscribers that way. So it's a nice touch. The difference is that there is a maximum spend, meaning that it can get expensive quickly. So it's a trade-off. Generally, most people do turn it on. You don't have to, though. I'll cover the exact details of what an email boost is and how it works in a moment. This is just an additional channel. Don't have to do it. Now, the preview on the right here, it has our post title. It has the publication's description, or the publication title, publication description, the target audience we wrote back in step 1, and boosts available. Earn up to $200 per send and $240 per subscriber. Now, some of you may have noticed $2.40 is not the $3 we said earlier, and $200 here is not the $250 that we said here. When someone chooses to monetize with you, they see how much they earn after the beehiiv fee. So there is a fee associated with this. 5% is for fees and such like this, and then 15% goes to beehiiv. So that clarifies the difference. Now, everyone knows how much they're earning and spending, and the difference is taken in between. Like there's no hidden fee per se, because no one is, like if it's 250 here and it's 200 here, the person's earning the 200 knows that's what they signed up for, and the spending 250 knows what they agreed to spend. But we do want to be upfront that there is a fee associated with this. Now, that covers creating the offer in the first place. If any questions, now's the time to let me know. What is an example of how someone, now questions, what is an example of how someone would earn the full send amount? Is email boost also a CPA payout? Okay, it looks like a lot of the questions are focusing on this email boost option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip ahead 2 steps, and I'm going to go straight into covering what that is, and then we'll go back to our agenda because it seems to be the hot topic issue. And I've done enough of these webinars to know that if there's an immediate issue, that no one's going to pay attention to anything until they get that answer. So let's focus on the immediate issue, which is the email boosts. Quickly on. We did not cover reviewing bids, so that's where we're going to come back to. Now, email boosts. So an email boost, essentially, the way it works is if I'm agreeing to pay $3 for every active subscriber, you're going to earn $240. In that moment, if I have an email boost saying you can earn up to 200, what's happening is you're going to put the email block in your email. Shocker. The email boost block goes in your email. As users subscribe through that, the $3 I'm paying is actually the amount you're earning for each, meaning the $3 is still there. It's still, I guess, $2.40 per subscriber. So after 10 subs, it's 24 bucks. But the maximum that someone can earn in that one email boost would be the $200 that we talked about. So it's still the same amount per person, but in an email block, there is a maximum limit because budgets are not infinite. People who are uploading money do not upload infinite dollars, although that would be nice for everybody. But there is a limit to that. In other words, everything else is the same, but inside of an email, there's an upper limit to how much you can earn for those subscribers, just to make sure the budgets are not completely overrun right away. There's another important factor with the email boost. So it's $3 or $2.40 per subscriber. But in an email, it's up to $200 for the one email. The email boost is a CPA amount, meaning you're also paid per subscriber. But email boost just set a limit on that amount, but they also set that amount aside. So we're going to cover escrow balances in a second. If you have a $250 max spend, how will it take that to be spent? Is there a measure that and the data result? So Anderson, I don't quite understand the exact thing you're asking, but I think what you're asking me is, and you can also reword it if you want to. If someone gets a lot of clicks on that email boost block right away, you'll max out right away. If it takes them forever to get the clicks, then you won't max out. How quickly you max that out depends on the traffic being driven by the publication who is promoting you via that email boost block. Let's get into the app again, and we can go over some examples of this. Cliff, I see your question, increased chances of ad opportunities. So we're not here to talk about ads, but the short answer is if you go into the panel and you contact the team, they'll be able to add opportunities for you if it's a fit. If you're brand new, if we don't have any sending history on your account, if we should have ads for almost every niche. So I don't think it's that we're running out of ads. It's just a matter of the timing. Sometimes what happens is like as the budgets become available, the ads become available, there can sometimes be a small gap in between. I don't know exactly the details. I didn't prep for an ad question, but if you contact the team, they will be able to assist you. Going back into the account, if we go back to our dashboard as we're growing, you guys will see this escrow balance here. So that 250. Now, we didn't cover applications, which is why I knew I should have finished that section. But basically, after someone gets approved to promote you, like they apply, you say, yeah, I want to work with you, you're approved, then you start appearing on their website here. Cool. They have to submit another application to do that email boost with you. Again, they have to apply to email it again. So here you can go into your account, look at your email applications. These are the applications for people to hit you with that email boost. If you choose to accept it, so let's say we have this RNDM travel newsletter. Great. I review it and I accept it. Done. I'm not going to click any buttons here because this is a live account, but it's very straightforward. You click the button, you look at it, you say yes or no. Once I hit yes for that email boost, that $200 is set aside here. Why? Because there's 72 hours for them to include that email boost block in the email. If they have not included it within the first day and you run out of money and then they include it, well, there's no money to pay them with now, is there? So that's why we make sure that the funds are set aside once you accept them so that it's there when they promote it. So you don't have any kind of situation where they're thinking they're going to run an email, earn up to $500, and then turn out there's nothing there and they're going to earn nothing and it's a waste of everyone's time. So when you accept that email boost request, the funds are set aside in escrow. 72 hours. Your funds are not tied up forever. They're tied up for 72 hours while that happens. They run the email boost. If they get 10 subscribers, the funds go to pending, just like a normal verification. Everything goes to pending. Whatever is left over after 3 days goes back to available. And that's that. That's the gist of how the email boost there works. So yes, every subscriber through an email boost is also CPA. If $250 is the max spend, it's just subject to how fast they can drive the traffic. If a newsletter of 100,000, so reading Bo's question now, if a newsletter of 100,000 subscribers email boost my newsletter and I set a limit to 300, do the subs stop at 300 or do my payments stop? Yeah, so in that situation, if they over deliver as the person with the budget, that would be your benefit. So if you are agreeing to set a maximum of $300 and they apply to work with you, they know that the maximum they're earning is 300. If they send you more than, 100 subs or 300 subs, then they've sent you more than that. And they knew that's what they signed up for. And in some cases, if their newsletter is very big and your payout is very small, they just won't apply. Most people won't apply, right? I wouldn't apply personally, but it's really just whatever. Some people are cool with the 500. That's their choice to make. So yeah, up to them. Now, That we did skip a step here. So we have to go into reviewing the bids now. We're going back to the agenda. Now, when you publish that offer that we made, skipping back a few steps, when you publish that offer here, I'm going to zoom out just a bit. What happens is people are going to apply to promote you. They're like, oh, so-and-so, but I'm going to get into the averages in a moment about how much we're paying people. But when you publish that, people then apply to work with you. So you can see we have 116 web applications, people who want to promote us, and we're paying $3. They're getting 240, just as an idea. So we can see all of the people who've applied. We're not going to go into the exact detail of every account because these are people's accounts. So that's not the important thing. In one of these cards, you see these tags, which are the content tags they're doing. You can see the average quality of these subscribers directly via Boosts, mind you. And then you can obviously go check out their website. You can also review their application and see details of what they've said to you directly in their message. You can also see the demographics of their account. So if you are, like I mentioned earlier, a local newsletter to a particular region, you can then see if they have an audience that fits that region on their newsletter. And then they have additional information here about how they overlap with your audience. This chart, we're probably going to change at some point. Not as effective, but good to see the differences. You can report a publication, you can accept, or you can reject. This is getting revamped a little bit. You can accept it, you can reject it. Reporting, we'll send a message to our team, we will investigate from there. And yeah, that covers it. Now, once you accept that, it starts working on its own. If you are applying to a lot of newsletters and not getting back to you, there's probably a reason why. And for this example, I'm actually going to reference, when we get to that section, I'm actually going to go through what you should and should not look for when approving a boost. This can help you guys better understand how to stand out. When a pending subscriber from a boost fails verification, does their email address get deleted? Cliff, yes. If auto clean is on, so let's go back to that. Edit our offer, continue. If this is on, it deletes. If this is off, it does not delete. We recommend deleting it. You don't have to. Howard, how long does it take for someone to approve a boost? It can take as long as they want. Some people do it right away. Some people never do. It really depends on the publication. It is an open marketplace. It's up to the publisher in that situation. All right, we're back. Looks like no questions. We're still on the growth side of Boost, and we're going to go straight into the dashboard here. Now, verified subscribers, those are the subscribers you pay for. If it says verified, that means you paid for it. And you can see some further details about what that means here. Total subscribers are all the ones that have been sent to you. Pending are the ones who we're not sure about yet. We're still checking to see if they're active. We just went over this. Rejected is not listed, but that's everyone else. These metrics are based on verified subscribers. So these are not for the people who are rejected or anything. These are just verified. So we can see here that the Creator Spotlight has paid for this many verified subscribers. These are the open rates of those subscribers. This is the click-through rate. This is the unsubscribe rate. That click-through rate is really good. In the beginning, it is always a little bit higher because early. As time passes, some people decide they're not as interested, but in some cases, it can go up over time, but that's rare. You can see how much money we've spent and how much money is pending in spend. We also have the available balance, and we can click this button to add funds whenever we want. As we get here, you can say, all right, great, I've published my offer. I don't want to wait for people to apply. You can click this button and you can invite people to boost you directly. So if you know of a newsletter you really like that fits your niche, that is on beehiiv, you can apply, you can ask them to promote you here. They'll get you can write a little message here, hello, hello. From there, we'll then email them and they can read that message and decide if they want to promote you or not. If you invite them and they accept, it's automatically done. They're going to be promoting you right away. Your budget will get used. So keep that in mind. You can also do it based on language and country or just by searching. But if you don't want to wait for people to apply, you can invite them directly. We covered all this already with the $3 and the channels and the quality control. So I'm not going to cover that again. But we also have the full table with all the information here. It covers publication name, status, CPA, which is how much you're paying them, and then all the same metrics on a per publication level. You can also click into a particular newsletter and see the history of your relationship with them. So we can see our history of working with Geek Out. It would be helpful if you gave subscriber numbers for each. Yeah, so that's here. If you click into that, you'll see that publication's numbers, and you'll see it on the dashboard as well. Both, good question. You can see total subscribers here, verified here, pending here, per publication. And if you click into it, you get the history you have with them. In this case, we just have one offer with Geek Out, but if you've had multiple, they'll all list it here. Your email boosts are listed here as well. And then you can see the average of what they're delivering. So we can see Geek Out's average open rate among verified subscribers is 23%, which is a little bit below the average we're getting from Boosts. But still, I would say worth keeping with the 15% click-through rate. Again, very subjective. You can also see how much you've given them historically. You can also report them if you need to. And that covers most of the dashboard. We covered applications. The Insights tab shows you how many new subscribers you've acquired. You can see there's a very strong upward trajectory here. July looking pretty good for 3 days in. And total spend as well. Again, this is all on the grow side for someone spending money. We're going to get into monetize shortly because I'm over halfway in my time. Lastly, this is your offer history. Many of you publish one offer at $3. Maybe you don't want to do that anymore. You want to edit it to $2. That will create a new offer. You will be presented with a toggle. I'm going to show you what that looks like, actually. So let's say we want to edit the offer, and we actually want to go from like $3 to $2. And we hit continue, and then we hit save. It's going to prompt us that we have pending applications, and we're going to need to review them and add all that before proceeding. But it will fall. I'm not going to do it because it will move. You'll then be prompted with the option to resend invitations to all the same people you're already working with. So we'll create a new offer, but you can also re-invite all the same people you're working with already to work with you there if you want to change the dollar amount. You cannot partner with someone at $3, change it on them to $1 without them realizing. They will either have the option to work with you, or they'll have the option to no longer do so. And it creates a new offer. It doesn't. The existing offer will remain, so that you can't just do a change up on somebody. That was by design. That covers the dashboard in the growth side of Boost. Of course, we also have the explain metrics button and learn more about Boost if you need further information. All of this was covered. We covered verified pending rejected separately. Great. Monetizing with Boost. So this is where we start switching now from someone who is spending money to grow to someone who is looking to grow and earn money. And that's going to be here. Now, before we do that, I need to stop sharing my screen and go to a different account, but there's some information you can't see, so I'm going to have to stop sharing first. Question from Cliff: what is the difference between active subscribers in the dashboard and verified subscribers? Oh, that is a really, really good question, actually. I'm glad you asked that. So in your beehiiv account, I'm going to actually pull up the account and then show you. But the short answer is active means that they've completed double opt-in. It does not mean they've paid or been paid for. Those are two separate things. So they can be active in beehiiv with that status, but not necessarily verified through Boosts. In other words, they double opted in, but they did not pass the rest of the checks. So they would be considered rejected. Even though it looks like they're active because they double opted, they didn't do enough to complete that verification. So they would be considered rejected and removed because they did not end up being paid for. Essentially, they weren't like quality enough. Cliff, I hope that helps. Is there a minimum spend limit? Oh, that's another good question. So short answer is kind of, yeah. It's not high. It's not high. But Patrick, or Pratik, sorry, Pratik, if let's say your CPA is $3 and you put in $50, that's fine. When it hits zero again, you can't put in $3 and get one more sub. You would have to put in 30, which is 10 times your CPA. Your CPA is $2 and your budget's zero, you got to put at least 20. If your budget's $3 and you hit zero, you got to put at least 30, 10 times. Because then you end up in a situation where it's like your budget's constantly hitting zero, and that's not good. Because when your budget hits zero, all of your partnerships pause, and that creates a lot of, and you don't want that. So just to avoid constant pausing and unpausing, we set it at 10 times. But no, you can put in like $30 if you want to. You are not charged for pending subscribers, Roger. The money is set aside in pending, but if they don't pass, you should get it back. If that's not what's happening, you can contact BF support. We'll fix it for you. But that's how it's supposed to work, and how I believe it is working. I don't think I saw any errors before the demo started when I was prepping. So again, one more check. Can everyone see my screen? We're going to be looking monetize with Boosts. Great. We're on track. We're doing good. All right. So monetizing. Now, the first thing you need to know when monetizing is the marketplace itself. So what does it even look like? You click this button here to explore offers, and you can see everyone here that posted their offer. This should look very familiar because we just did it 15 minutes ago where we made our own offer and we had a preview that looked just like this. If you click it, which I just did by accident, you can actually see the publication's website. You can go look at their post. You can see if you like it or if you don't like it, and if you're a good fit to promote them. You can see how much you stand to earn on a per subscriber basis or a per send basis, a maximum amount per email. You can see regional restrictions applied at the time and move in from there. For example, if I know that my subscribers are not in the United States and Canada, I would not apply to this. You can look through all of them and click apply at any time. You can enter your message and you can submit that application. Again, you know what it looks like on the other side because we just did that. And that's the marketplace. You can also look based on You can search the offers directly, or you can also search by content tag and category. You can also do it by country. There are also advanced features, which is payouts and payouts percent. So CPA and payout percent. So you can set a minimum of $2 if you don't want to earn less than that. Current average on the platforms are about 265. Good. So that covers that. We're going to cover the channels now. So we've covered kind of the basics of what you see in the marketplace. We're going to cover the channels. The one I showed you earlier, this is a web boost because it happens on a website. Inside of your account, if you were to create a post and type /boost, that would be an email boost. You can only add one if you've already been approved for it through the second application I showed you earlier, but it would appear here. You can see that. You can also see in there the date that it expires. Delete that post because I don't need it. This is someone else's account. Direct link. This is a really interesting one. Now, if you are monetizing, you can go into an account, and let's say your website here does not get a lot of traffic. Let's say your email list is small, but you still want to make money. Let's say you have a big audience on Twitter or X, I should say, or on Instagram. You can actually go into the publication, and you see this direct link right here. You can pull that, and that will give you a unique URL you enter here. Now, I can't zoom in on the URL bar, but it's essentially, it's kind of like a UTM parameter if you're familiar with these, or any kind of like tracking of your traffic. If you convert a subscriber from this link, like they come in here and they subscribe, I'm not going to do it because money will change hands, then Publish Press would still pay you in this case. So you can take that link and you can paste it to Twitter. I'm not going to pull up my Twitter right now or my Instagram or anything, but you can paste it right in there. And it'll work the same way. The traffic will be tracked back to Booosts and you get paid. It's 30 days. That cookie should be good for, unless the browser cuts it sooner. Are you able to do this? You need to be verified for it first. So you have to have the partnership in place already. So I'm able to do this with Publish Press in this example because I already applied to work with Publish Press, or they invited me and we accepted, and we have an existing partnership here. We have an existing pair. So that's why I can have it. If you're not already doing it with them, then no, they're not going to pay you. So you have to be paired up with them first through the app, through the marketplace I just showed you, or through the invitations from earlier, if they invite you. And then again, you can see all the same history by clicking onto the publication name. Embed. Okay. Now, if you are using a third-party website that is not a beehiiv website, you can actually go into your settings and click publication, and there's going to be a widget section. You can actually place a script on your third-party website, Webflow, WordPress, whatever you're using, to make this pop-up appear when someone subscribes on that page too. So the instructions are in a specific support doc, but all of the information's here. You just go into publication settings, widget, and you can learn how to set it up there if you're using a third-party website as well. It's quite powerful, actually. I would recommend it if you use a third-party website. And that covers that one there. Where are we on the agenda? We covered verification already. Back to our agenda, we're going to cover some of the main details of the dashboard. The main thing being this verification rate. I covered the rest already, but the verification rate. When you go into Boost and you look at that verification rate number, in this case, it's 16%. That is the percentage of subscribers you are sending, which are actually verifying and you're getting paid for. It's another version of the quality of your traffic. That is the general verification rate. So if I'm sending 100 and 16 go through, 16% verification rate. 16% is a touch low, I would say. If you're over 25, you're okay. If you're over 30, I would say pretty good. Over 40 is great. If someone's 95%, that's actually a red flag. It's actually a very different issue. Very different issue. That's typically when you put it in the group chat with your friends and family. Like, hey, everyone, can you subscribe and click everything here so I can get paid? Fortunately for us, like we do have ways of filtering those things out. In the beginning, though, we did see some of those when we started this a year ago. So that's that. Now we have a question here from P. Nick, and the question is, can you format the in-email boost block to fit your brand, or is it a standard template? How does that work? It works just like a recommendation block. So if we go into that, this is not the post I made. I deleted the post I made. If we go into a new post and we type recommendation and we pick one, it's this, except it says sponsored. So yeah, it'll say sponsored there. And if we preview that, it looks like this. Otherwise, it's the same. Back to the agenda here. Verification rate we covered. Monetizing, I covered this one already, which is great. Critique, what is posts? Okay, a post in beehiiv is the content you publish. So if I publish, this is like a post. So if I come in here and I look at this is a post. Like the content I publish, those are posts. You can publish by email. You can publish to the website, but it's a post. It's just a matter of what you publish. So back to Brian's question, I guess you can post articles directly on the platform. You can send emails and you can publish them to your website. What I would say is that if you're not 100% familiar with how beehiiv works, we have great support documentation you can reference here. I just dropped it in the chat. That will walk you through all the details of how this stuff works. Rob, the subscriber boost link for your own website, third party. So that's, you can go into settings, publication, widget, and then the document on how to set it up is here. And then the actual scripts are below. Yes, so you can use that support documentation to do that. We have really good YouTube videos as well that I would recommend you to. There's not necessarily like a set beehiiv 101. Beehiiv. Here we go. I'm going to drop that there. So the YouTube's also quite good. You can also check that. So those are both really good options. In terms of through the whole platform, there are other options as well. I mean, there are support docs, blog posts, but those two are probably the best sources of truth, the documentation and the YouTube channel, which can help you guys out with that. We're going to cover some best practices, standing out. So I'm going to go through a publication as if it's just applied to my boost. So if you don't know, I have a boost available as well. It pays $5 and a lot of people apply because it pays well. And when I review, I'm very, very strict about it. So we're going to cover what I look for in a publication and what I think many of you should look for. So that I'm not bashing anyone, I'm going to use my own newsletter or one of my newsletters as an example. This newsletter is inactive, but it's old and inactive, but we can still use it. Basically, a few things. Number one, are they on a custom domain? If yes, that's positive. Number two, have they made a logo that's not just like an emoji? If yes, that's positive. Do they have recent posts? No, this one does not. This has a test post that was published recently, but otherwise nothing. That's negative. That's bad. It's like, why are you applying for me to give you money if you're not posting? If you haven't posted anything since November, that's a huge red flag. For example, I read the content. Is this what I care about? This was a really funny story actually, but is it what I care about? Yes or no? If no, then it's not really going to fit. Next, you want to look at like the way they write it. It's very subjective. The way they write it, the copy. Do you like the tone? Do you think your subscribers are going to like the tone? And vice versa. For me, if this publication were applying for me to give them money for subscribers, I would check and say, okay, does this person even write anything similar to the way I write? Yes or no? Because if it's not at all similar and the topic is different and the tone is different and the way it's written is different and the images are very different, well, then I'm not sure it's going to be a good fit because will their subscribers like my publication? So I look at all those things. There's a bunch more that you can look at on an individual level. I'll leave it for you guys to decide on how you want to vet. But I look mostly I look at the content. If they're applying for me to like give them money for subscribers via boosts and they've got like one post and it's really short and there's nothing else going on there, and if that's you applying for boosts and that's the state of your publication, I would also say no to that personally. No disrespect, nothing wrong, but you do want to feel like that the person is very serious about what they're doing, because then they're going to care about their own subscribers. And it's not just going to be like, essentially them trying to get rich quick. If we move forward here, best practices, right? So we covered that one, link boost and automations. We do not have time to cover this, but we are doing more of these webinars. So if we have time, we'll cover it in a separate case. 265 is the benchmark, the current average. So 265. If you're paying $1 and you're not getting good publications or publications that match what you're looking for fitting, that's probably why. Question from Brian Carter. My newsletter is published twice a month. Should we do weekly to gain more followers money? Well, if it's web boosts, then it's a function of how many people go to your website and subscribe. So if you publish newsletters to your existing list, but no one outside of that sees your newsletter, I don't know how new people would go to your website to subscribe to do this. So I don't know if you necessarily need to publish more posts. I think you should publish really good posts if it's twice a month, but you can also look at the way you market your posts to get more people to subscribe to your newsletter so that more people see this and toggle these on and click subscribe. Brian, that's the way I would approach it. So Bo, question, I was rejected because I had very few posts. Yeah, 30 days. You're rejected and 30 days later, you should be able to reapply. If it's not working, let us know and we can definitely assist with that. So Brian, I hope that helps clarify here. Bo, same with you. 30 days, you should be good. Last thing I will mention is if you feel like any of the subscribers you have paid for were in any way problematic, they weren't legitimate, they were bots, whatever, you can contact support and we'll do our best to get you set up properly. And then from there, we can go over what may have gone wrong. Sometimes they are legit and they just don't want to read the newsletter. Other times they're not. It's not as common anymore with the further developments we've made on the platform, but you never know. And if you're concerned, just reach out. We'll be happy to help you out with what's going on there. Question from Anderson. I know you mentioned going over being a paid subscriber of beehiiv and that including Boost in some capacity for that subscription. Would that mean you wouldn't have to pay on top of the subscription for Boost technically unless you wanted to? You do need to be on at least a scale plan to access Boosts. So you have to pay that subscription to use Boosts. But otherwise, you can earn as much as you want or as much as you earn. We don't cap it. So you could out earn your subscription. So in other words, if you're paying $100 a month for beehiiv, you can easily earn more than that via Boosts, if that's what you need. For Anderson. Brian Carter, we run a bass fishing tournament website, so it's not for everyone, but I would love to learn more about marketing it. Okay, so super niche, very tricky, Brian. That's true in general around newsletters, not necessarily just Boosts. Definitely worth keeping that in mind. That one's tricky. It's very, very niche. I don't know very many bass fishing tournaments. I think it's a cool idea, but I'm not necessarily sure it would be able to monetize in as traditional a method like Boosts or ads. Maybe ads actually could work in that case, but really depends on that niche and those subscribers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to technically the official Q&A, but we've had lots of great questions so far. I do have 6 minutes of time here, and that is owed to you, so you're welcome to stick around, ask your questions. You can ask whatever you want, open floor, Boosts are good to go. Where do you recommend we learn the fundamentals or more about marketing our newsletter? Great question. So if you go to the beehiiv blog, there's actually here an entire section, I'm going to zoom in, dedicated to getting your first 1,000 subscribers with each channel. So this is a gold mine for a Cliff. In your case, if you're asking about marketing, you can learn how to get your first 1,000 subscribers with Instagram, with LinkedIn, with X, with TikTok, and with YouTube. It's all there. It's completely free, and it's very detailed. EJ did a very, very good job with these, so I would recommend checking them out. That was for Cliff. P. Nick, yes, my question is better focus on one topic or have a newsletter with multiple relative topics. Pick one, get really good at it, and branch out after. Could you explain the email boost? Yes, Roger, I can. We do have time for that. So let's get into that. What happens here is, in the very, very beginning, forget the email. Someone applies to promote you and you say yes, and now they are your partner. So when I subscribe to their website, I see your thing because you're giving them money. Amazing. When that is done, they can then apply again to promote you via email. So that's when they go under monetize and they look here, they can see all the email boosts have available and they can apply. So this person's already been accepted for 2, but from here they can apply to an email boost. That'll be 3 days where if they accept that application, you'll have 3 days to then include it in your email. Great. Those funds are set aside, meaning that if someone accepts your offer, your request to email boost, and the maximum payout is 300, all 300 will be set aside so that you can earn up to that much. Even if the rest of their budget goes to 0, the 300 will be there for you because they accepted that deal. Over 3 days, you can then add that block to your email. I showed you the block in that post editor there, and then you can send it. As you send it, if they're paying $2 a sub, every subscriber who subscribes to that email boost block is going to be $2. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on. And that'll be in pending. At the end of the 3 days, everyone in pending will go through verification process as normal, and any money left over will go back to the available balance. And then from there, you'll be good to go. A couple minutes here and we wrap up. Brian Carter, we're looking at working with influencers in the industry. I mean, you can work with influencers in your industry. I don't really know enough about that industry to know if it'll work or not. I know lots of people use influencers in general. It's a big marketing tactic. Brian, unfortunately, I'm not expert enough on that to offer a real opinion. Anderson, Darwin, so the subscription allows you for boosts. Does that mean automatically our newsletter will show up after people subscribe to other newsletters, or do we need to fund our account? Yeah, you'll need to fund the account. If the account is empty, like if we look here, led by community, if they don't have any money, they won't appear here. If they don't have any money in their account, then it won't appear. So the funds will need to be there for that. Yeah, the funds need to be there. It's a good question. 3 days okay. So this is one of the pain points that we're looking to address. P. Nick, good question about the 3 days. If you know your post goes out on Friday, you should probably request it around like Wednesday, because then they'll typically approve it in time. If you request it like 2 weeks early and they approve it, then you're going to miss the whole window entirely, and it's going to look like you never published. That is a pain point that we're aware of that we have to fix it, frankly. That's a good call out. Should I change this domain name? Rob, up to you. I would say the content is more important than the domain for someone vetting. Thank you so much. Yeah, happy to help. Definitely give it a try. Peace into you. Hope everyone found that helpful. We are out of time officially. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys got a lot out of this webinar. We're going to be doing more of these as well. So be sure, if you have any other questions, you can submit questions to the support team through the in-app panel, or you can definitely join another webinar. But thank you again for choosing beehiiv. Really happy to have your business. Happy to help if anything comes up. I wish you all the best. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your long weekend for those of you in the United States.